Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, Capital One Bank, Eastern Consolidated, M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, Meridian Capital Group, the Wickoff Organization, Customers Bank, Ariel Property Advisors, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, Perfect Building Maintenance, Genova Burns. Additional funding has been provided by AKA Hotels, Corman Communities, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Citizens Bank, Cohen Equities, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, Connect One Bank, CPEX Real Estate Services, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties, Handler Real Estate Organization, HAP Investments, Hodges Ward Elliott Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, New Banks, Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Polsonelli, Rosewood Realty Services, SJP Properties, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Knackle Group at Cushman & Wakefield, Maring Goff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Group, and these friends.
It's called Newark. My crystal ball is very shiny about it. You know, it's the largest city in the state of New Jersey. It's lots of development taking place. It's the home of the Prudential Center. It's the home of the New Jersey PAC. It's the home of new developments in all areas. So today I've assembled this group of business and political executives to provide their insight on what's happening in Newark. My guests, they include the Honorable Mayor of the city of Newark, Mayor Ras Baraka, a partner in the firm of Genova Burns, Jennifer Mazaway, Mark Burson, who's been born in Newark, like the mayor, Mark Burson, who is the chairman and CEO of Fidelco, and last but not least, not born in Newark, Ben Corman, who is the chairman and CEO and founder of Lotus Equity. So you were born in Newark and you were born in Newark, and you both have seen the evolution. You've been the mayor for how long now?
About 2.5 years.
So how do you like being mayor?
I love it. Yeah, everybody asks that question. How do you like being mayor? It'd be interesting if somebody one day says, no, I don't like being the mayor. But yeah, I love it.
You know what? You wouldn't be here if you did.
Right.
No, but how have you seen the evolution? I mean, over the past 16 seasons, I've probably profiled Newark at least 6 or 7 times, but I haven't seen Newark being in this positive vein of development and great opportunities. I mean, one of the opportunities is, we were talking before, one of the staff of CUNY TV lives in Staten Island. It takes him an hour and a half. Somebody can go to New York City and live in Newark 25 minutes?
Less than that.
Less than that.
Yeah.
It's convenience. You have the path, you have the railroad, you have the light rail, you have all this opportunities over there. So what are you attributing the changes? Why are we at this pinnacle of the shiny apple today taking place in Newark?
I think there's a lot of reasons. I mean, one, it has to do with the season, the time. I think the time is ripe for this now. And I think, Manhattan, Hoboken, Jersey City, all of those places are, a lot saturated, and Newark is the next stop on the train. And then we have the infrastructure that's finally getting the notoriety it deserves, the transportation infrastructure, the technological infrastructure, the location to the airport, to Manhattan, all of these places, make it the place to be. And I think that we've created the kind of environment now that make all of these things kind of unite. It's like a perfect storm. And we've been open for business for the past 2 years, trying to invite as many people in as possible to get them involved.
Now, when did you start initially developing in Newark? 25 years ago, would you say?
It's over in the late 80s, late 1980s. First in the industrial area because I was involved philanthropically with the development of the Arts Center and
What's happening today is finally this new tower is being built by Dranoff. Tell me about what's going on near the Arts Center.
well, when the Arts Center was created, it was recognized by the founders that the hardest thing to do is to build an edifice that's going to survive the financial needs. This is not a money-making venture. So the idea was to try and create endowment, and the endowment included excess land. And the thought being that when the timing was right, that land would be developed and that land would generate income stream. But consistent with the mission of the center was to be really an engine for economic development, residential development, and to turn the community. So all of that is represented in this building that Dranoff is developing
Right, it's a
now with the Arts Center.
22-story building, I think 245 units.
Right.
And, you know, the rents are substantially less than living in Manhattan and even less than Jersey City and certain other markets. Let's talk, we were talking about Edison's property with the warehouse. Tell me about what they're doing there.
Sure. They have a warehouse which has been vacant for a number of years at the corner of Edison Place and McCarter Highway that they are redeveloping, doing a gut rehab inside, creating retail opportunity on the first floor to activate Edison Place, which is the street that will lead you right up to the Prudential Center, and then commercial and office above that. On the south side of that building, there's also going to be a public plaza that opens up into what will be the new Triangle Park, which is going to be constructed starting this year.
Mulberry Commons.
Mulberry Commons.
With regard to that, Mayor,
That's right, it's named.
has the city offered the developer incentives to do that type of work, to convert that property?
That whole environment was created by a swap of land that went back and forth between the Housing Authority, the City of Newark, and a few other private developers. Actually, a lot of the developers are putting their own money in a lot of this. Newark has a lot of skin in the game in terms of creating the park and the bridge, but the developers are putting a lot of their monies in it. And of course, we're going to, down the road, probably have to talk about incentives to make the projects work in and around that area.
Speaking of development, let's talk about what you're doing over there. I mean, you've been involved with Newark, as you said to me, since 2006. Talk to me about what you're doing now at the former baseball stadium.
So we purchased from Essex County and the city of Newark the former Birds and Eagle Stadium. That is on the north end of CBD, right
Right near Mr. Burson's building of 494?
In fact, right across from Mr. Burson's building.
Which happens to house Audible, an Amazon company.
That's true. And right next to the Broad Street Station, it takes you within 16 minutes to Penn Station. And we saw quite a few. We actually studied that fairly deeply. We got excited by the history of Newark, by the different neighborhood amenities, the Museum of Newark, that is big enough. It shows only 2% of its entire inventory.
So what are you planning to build there, Ben?
We're planning to do mixed use. We're looking to have about 1.1 million square feet of low-rise, about 750,000 square feet when appropriate of high-rise, all rental for the moment. And we're looking to put anywhere between 300 to 600,000 square feet of commercial office that we're directing into the sector that we think the city has a lot to offer for, and that's the high-tech sector. And we're looking to put there about 30,000 square feet of cultural building dedicated and that would connect to the rest of Newark's cultural venues, as well as about 120,000 square feet of retail. We also have a little over 3 acres of public open space and about 2,000 car garage.
Speaking of office space, what's the differential? Office space in Manhattan, the Lower Manhattan used to be the low-cost alternative, and you can't even get B office space in Lower Manhattan for less than $40, $50 a foot. What's rents in Newark today?
Well, that's an interesting bag because there's a diversity in the answer. First, there's the question of where are you, and the Penn Station area seems to still be maybe 20% or more in terms of higher base rent. Older buildings have a fair variety depending how they've been upgraded
So
or not.
would we say Penn Station at $25 or $30 a foot or higher?
I'd say you're pushing the $30, low 30s.
Right.
When you get, for example, to the north end, you'll find some buildings that you're going to be around 20, a little bit less, and then you'll find some pushing.
But what I'm saying, in essence, Mark, is look at the opportunities. If a company wants to go there, the differential in the office operating expense is significantly lower.
Well,
People can work there. It's because a place to succeed, and which the mayor has really done a great job, is a place that is a live, work, shop environment. Okay, live, work, shop, eat, and environment, and that's what's happening in Newark. I mean, we've done shows, and you've seen it over there.
Sure.
It's changing over here. Newark has always been a leading place for education. Okay.
But I want you to understand that new space, and we're building new space. We built it for Cablevision. We building it now for Audible in a retrofit of the old Presbyterian Church on Washington Street. And we're planning another for Amazon and Audible building. Those numbers are well below probably a new facility in New York, but they're miles more expensive than being at Penn Station. The barometer that has helped to initiate these has been the availability of tax credit programs.
The GROW.
That's
The GROW program.
The incentives
GROW.
that the
incentive
state has.
program.
to incent and help the spread. It doesn't hold for the years. You sign for 20, 30 years, but you've got 10 years of help to watch the market mix, and that incentive has worked.
Let's talk about the Haynes conversion. What's going on over there, Mayor?
Well, they should be ready to
This is the
open
former
their doors in a
Haynes-
few months.
Haynes department store that opened up originally in 1901, closed in 1980.
I wasn't around.
I wasn't around, either. But
I was.
It's
Not in
being
1901.
converted into a. You can have some retail. You have
Yeah.
an Amazon, and
Whole Foods.
Right.
You have a Whole Foods, and then you have the Nike.
Well, so Nike is already
down
existing on Broad Street, and that was part of
further down.
the Prudential Tower development. What's lovely about what's happening at the Haynes Building is that it was Whole Foods was the main tenant that was coming, and since then, we've seen a restaurant that's coming from famous chef Marcus Samuelson, and then also a Barnes and Noble that is
Right,
coming.
or it's Barnes and Noble bookstore in New York.
So I mean,
But I think another great thing that's taking place in Newark is the first new residential tower is being built in more than 50 years.
Right.
They broke ground recently.
So, yeah,
it's the Dranoff Building.
that's Stranoff.
JPAC.
But
No, the other,
There's a conversion at the Verizon.
right,
It's a more
and the
Verizon
conversion
building.
building,
Yeah,
right.
Verizon.
right, you also
The
have,
L&M is doing.
don't underestimate the impact of Rutgers,
That's
that
true.
for years was not visible within the city.
Right.
They were sort of a block away.
Right.
And with the business school coming out to Broad Street
Right.
at Washington Street, and now with the Haynes Building, Nancy Cantor, who's a true urbanist, has
right.
brought them back out one more time to
Didn't
Broad
she
Street.
build some housing in the building also?
Also on Washington, they
Yeah.
On
converted
Washington
the building.
Street, and she also moved in
And
there,
she
I
moved-
believe.
Honor's house.
She moved in
She
the-
built there
yeah.
an owner's house. over
And
there.
the first
With
floor
more
of that
Newark
building also has a
residents.
jazz club.
That's the
Or-
old fire. You're talking first about the Fireman's Fund at 15 Washington Street,
Right.
and that's her residence
Yes.
and graduate housing. They're also building on Washington Street a honors program building,
Right.
which will be a 500-bed plus
Yeah.
teaching plus.
Right.
And that's for real and budgeted, and I believe they may have broken ground already.
And healthcare is also, I mean, you're still the chairman of Newark Beth Israel?
Newark Beth, and I'm the vice chair of
Chair.
RWJ Barnabas Health. And it's we're excited and have a program to, frankly, to build a new hospital in Newark, and consolidate. We see a tremendous future and a partnership with Rutgers that we anticipate formalizing over the next weeks, which will really take healthcare in New Jersey to another level, because the combination of research and education and implementation, delivery of healthcare, it'll put us in the top 12 university-based healthcare systems in the United States.
I think something else that's really growing, in Newark is the transportation, the accessibility. We're talking about the light rail and everything else. But in order to attract, we need that millenniums. Are the millenniums coming to Newark yet?
They're definitely working there. We found it in our firm, and I know other companies have seen the same, because they want an opportunity to take mass transit. They want to go to a job where they don't have to necessarily drive a car, because we're seeing that they're not, millennials generally are not driving, or they're driving later. I think as the new housing comes on board, we're going to see those millennials moving. Also, they're getting priced out of markets, frankly, that are too expensive for them. They cannot live in Jersey City or Hoboken necessarily because the prices are too high.
I mean, let's try to give my audience a comparison. A one-bedroom studio in Manhattan, probably we're talking about $3,100. A one-bedroom, $3,700 to $4,000. In Newark, we're talking about, in a brand-new building or something, we're talking $1,450 or maybe $1,500 or less.
Or less.
So the
Depending where you are.
opportunities of where you can, and also the apartments are larger. I think another great thing took place a couple of months ago, and if someone would have ever asked me that a Kuwait investment fund would make an investment and buy an office building in Newark, I think that shows an international appeal, that investors are saying this is an opportunity. And they didn't pay cheap. They paid $494 a foot. True, you have Panasonic as the lead tenant, who's there because of the Grow Green and
Right.
other opportunities over there. But I think the fact that shows a major semblance of what's going on.
I think, when Art Ryan retired and Prudential brought on John Strangfeld as the new chairman, there was a big question mark. How committed is Pru, that had really taken a major step forward to support the city? With Strangfeld's decision to build new headquarters buildings in Newark, that sent the message out to corporate America.
And they're paying full taxes, which I think is incredible.
So I think that message is being heard. We've been fortunate. I met a young man, Don Katz, who had created a company called Audible. We got them into space when they needed to move. Their lease was up, and I thought it was just another tenant that occupied 50,000 feet of our building, and I thought that was great at 1 Washington Park.
Right.
They are now in all of the space that the business school doesn't occupy, and but for, I think, 6,000 feet that they'll take over in 2 years. Plus now another 400, there's almost 1,000 employees. Another 400 will be going on 15, and they're all millennials. What we're now talking about is the next 1,500 employees.
Right.
So they're coming, but the charge and the point I was making was not about necessarily a new office building. It was about the charge by Don Katz is it only works if they live here
Right.
and they seek entertainment here and recreation here.
Right.
But
That's
part of that
critical.
recreation is the fact that you have the New Jersey PAC, you have the Prudential Center,
Right.
that besides the Devils is having numerous events over there. You have good management of the Prudential Center, so we're
Right.
in a different market than we are, okay?
Well,
and you have more local restaurants and bars and pubs, which are
Right.
going to take care of the situation over there.
And that changed. I mean, we opened. We had this discussion earlier. We opened Martini's restaurant not because I wanted to be in the restaurant business, but because to have a successful office building, we had to support our office community. But we're now successful in the area, and the shout came from occupants, particularly coming from the Audible folks.
Right.
We need something a little different.
Millennials.
That came in the form of Barcade, and they're coming in next in replacement, and that plays directly to the millennial.
Right.
And that's
The Audible
so-
employees, that's the Rutgers students, that both the business school students and the undergrad.
Absolutely. So the shift is a very natural kind of shift that's there. It plays perfectly into the planning that Ben is doing in there. We've always believed we have to anchor residentially. And what better place where we have an open canvas, and that's what you had in the Ball Stadium.
Right.
And that's what we have around the North Broad Street. And lo and behold, that's where the light rail was installed, which connects the two train stations. So, and you got a highway sector there, and you can really get around.
And you have an international airport, nearby. One of the,
That's right.
when you go to LaGuardia, I mean, many people in New York City prefer to go to Newark because the schlep to going to Kennedy and even LaGuardia tonight is a nightmare. I mean, with the terminals and everything else over there. Now, do you have any sales tax incentives in certain parts of Newark?
Well, we did. We had the UEZ
That's what I thought.
tax, program that is up for renewal. It's in certain parts of New Jersey still. In Newark, it'll be renewed. I just don't know if it'll be renewed this year, but I believe it will be renewed. So it gives incentives for retailers and business to operate in our community.
Right,
So-
because I believe the half.
You pay half
sales
tax if you
The-
purchase anything.
You know what happens? I've done shows in Staten Island, and there's a new outlet mall being built in Staten Island, and they think they're going to do well, and I wish them the best, like anything else. But my comment is, you can go to the state of New Jersey and pay no sales tax on your clothing, and you're so close by. Now, let's talk about the building. You own an office building in Newark.
It's true.
So who are the tenants moving into the building? What are the type of tenants? And I read that you're doing some art galleries now in the.
That's true. So we're connected to the community. There is a very significant art scene in Newark that people don't know about. One of the things that we don't realize, or at least we're not emphasizing on, is the fact that it was an industrialized city, and it has a lot of makers, a lot of people that have all kind of skills, and a lot of artists settled there just the same way they settled in Bushwick. And so we connected to the local art scene, and we put them in one of our spaces that are facing the concourse that connects to the train station, and that is a huge success. It also incubates about 30 to 50 artists, depends on the time. And through that, we understand what's going on in the art scene, and we are very encouraged. As for the space in the building itself, we're just about to sign a lease with a very significant tenant that will add about 140,000 square feet to our building, which is a tremendous relief at a great rent. And this is an outside company. This is a company that's coming from somewhere else to Newark, and that's another vow for Newark, that people believe that Newark is changing.
Look, I think part of what's helping Newark also is the TAMI, the technology, advertising, media, and internet. And you were talking before that the internet lines, the power of the internet lines is so powerful that people can it's a plug and play, and that's really important over there. How I know your firm is very involved. Have you had foreign investors and other investors looking in Newark?
Yep. So we have some foreign money coming in, looking at hotel in particular, the hotel sector, which we haven't really talked about yet. But the internet, as you pointed out, and it's something that I think the mayor does a really good job of promoting. The technological infrastructure in Newark is fantastic. And so I think that you're going to see that type of investment coming, and I think that's what Ben also would look like to target at the old Bear Stadium.
Let's talk about, you bring up the hospitality. I mean, the airport has always had the local hospitality for the people living, work in the community. Then a couple of years ago, you had the 2 new hotels. One was the conversion of the property to the Indigo, and then was another hotel, the Marriott, I think.
Yep. That was new construction, the
Courtyard.
Courtyard by Marriott.
Courtyard by Marriott. How are they doing?
I think they're doing well. Indigo has a rooftop bar that I know gets a lot of play during the nice times of year. They have a restaurant on the first floor as well. The Marriott, I understand, is doing very well.
The room nights are filling.
Right.
Now,
There's activity.
I failed to bring out one of the best things about Newark that many people travel from around the world. It's to go to the Ironbound section. Okay, the Ironbound section with the restaurants and everything else has been a big booster to Newark also.
Always. I mean, it hasn't changed. It's gotten better. I think with the creation of Mulberry Commons or Triangle Park, the bridge, it'll connect people from the downtown directly to Ferry Street. And the connectivity between those communities, I think, something Newark has been missing for a very long time.
We have a Starbucks.
We have a Starbucks.
It too.
We have a new Starbucks. There's Blaze Pizza. There is the Nike store, as you mentioned before.
The new Barnes & Noble store opening
New
up.
Barnes & Noble on Halsey. There's also Jimmy John's Subs,
Right.
Qdobo. There are national brands coming into Newark, transforming that Halsey corridor that Mark was talking about before.
Right.
Since our firm moved here in 2008, I see a marked difference in the north side of town from where it was in 2008 to where it is now.
One thing that may happen to Newark, which is happening right now, and it depends also on crime, it depends on the evolution of assisted living. People want to live in the communities. People don't want to move to Florida, the baby boomers. And there are 2 assisted living places being built in Manhattan today, one on 93rd Street and 2nd Avenue, one on 56th Street. And I could foresee people, living, especially with the great medical, the great educational, and everything else, and the fact that it's becoming more of a 24/7 community, that you may see some REIT or a developer who's going to say, maybe this is a place where I should have an assisted living. But if I had to look at my shiny apple, which I said normally is not that always shiny, I think that the things are looking good for Newark. I think it's a combination of developers, owners who are working, professionals over there, technology, Audible, and other companies like that, the conversions, and a good mayor. And I'd like to thank the mayor, Jennifer, Mark, and Ben, and I'll see you next week.